Good evening, everybody. It is Angie with your nightly update. Tonight, we are going to go through our usual agenda. We're going to chat about the current update to the positive or confirmed COVID-19 cases in Florida, and specifically Osceola, Orange, and surrounding counties and what that looks like. Then I want to talk generally about the COVID-19 situation and Windsor and how we're doing with the restrictions that have been put in place. And then finally, we're going to go through some of the additional updates that we saw today at both the local level as well as the state level. Some additional restrictions, interventions, precautions that have been put into place. Okay, so I guess we'll start with a number of cases. Now, I know this might shock you because the government is always timely with updates. But we moved this back, so 7 o'clock, we would get the 6 o'clock public health update, and unfortunately, we didn't see it yet. So right now, I still have the data from 11:06 a.m. In terms of the case count, and the cases are up again, up in the neighborhood of about 250 more cases for a total of 1,467, with Osceola County continuing to grow at 26 cases, but Orange County really growing very rapidly, hitting 50 cases today. Other counties, Polk, Lake, Seminole, Brevard, etc., are growing, but not at the same pace that Orange is. I think Orange is now, we were pretty far behind. Miami, or Dade, Broward, and Hillsborough, I believe, over in the Tampa area. Very far behind, but now we find Orange County at 4th in terms of counties in the state of Florida with number of cases. So as a result, we did see the mayor of Orange County implement a stay-at-home order today. It will go into effect on Thursday, the 26th of March, and will stay in place until Thursday, the 9th of April. Restrictions are very, very tight. You can go get groceries, you can go to doctor's appointments, you can go get medications from your pharmacy, etc. You can go to and from work, go to a store to get supplies from work. But in Orange County, aside from that, all non-essential businesses will be closing as of Thursday night. So we don't know if this is going to be indicative of what we're going to see Osceola do in the coming days. It very well could be, would not surprise me. So we are preparing that. Obviously, as an essential business, we have access to everything we need. So we won't feel the same level of disruption that other businesses might. But it's things that will affect us. It will affect our workforce, etc. So we're taking the appropriate precautions to make sure that employees have the information they need, that if they're on their way to or from work and they live in Orange County, that they have the appropriate information on letterhead that says, I'm an essential worker and I need to get to and from work. We're also making vacant rooms in the community available to staff if they feel more comfortable staying here, like myself, Cece, Glenn, Chef Jorge. We have a couple of other hourly staff members who have elected to stay here. So that is available to staff. We will offer them an apartment to stay in, and we will feed them while they're here. It's a good scenario for them to stay healthier, and of course it helps us know that we have certain team members that are going to have a higher probability of staying healthy and serving our community for the duration of this pandemic. So that's what's going on in Orange County, and that is pretty significant. Additionally, we heard from Governor DeSantis, and he is indicating that there is going to be a public health officials are going to be issuing notice insisting that those individuals in the state of Florida over age 65 need to stay home in order to avoid exposure to COVID-19. Again, it's probably not a surprise, but they're talking to us. So, just is what it is. So, we need to do that. We need to stay home. We need to really take a look at the individuals that are still going out into the community for XYZ reason, and we need to find an alternative means for those individuals to get what they need. Again, short of a medically necessary appointment or an emergency. Okay, those are exceptions to the rule. All right. We also saw Governor DeSantis put some additional restrictions in place for gatherings in private residences, so individual homes. There is an order now in place that more than 10 individuals cannot gather in a home, a private residence, or even a public area such as a courtyard, etc. So we are taking that to heart as well, that we are going to be very mindful to not allow 10 individuals to gather in an area, even if they're socially distant. So out on the lanai, up on the club patio, in the veranda where residents are picking up meals. Going to really work on being more mindful of this with staff meetings, etc. We have a staff meeting scheduled for tomorrow, and I think that'll be our last time doing that until we get through this. We're going to have to do smaller groups because, again, we want to be mindful as well that we are adhering to these restrictions, okay? Because we know that's better for our staff, healthier residents, okay? So you heard me say the Sky Bar. Okay, we have decided to close the Sky Bar patio that had previously remained open despite the actual Sky Bar being closed. At this point, the Sky Bar patio is closed because we need to be able to monitor that outdoor area to ensure that folks are not gathering. Okay, so we are able to monitor the lanai much more easily, 24 hours a day. We are not able to monitor the Sky Bar patio. So that area will be closed until further notice. Residents will not be able to access that door to the patio. Okay, and I know some folks are upset with me about that, but again, we're just going to have to accept that this is just par for the course and another something we have to deal with in order to get to the other side of this COVID-19 outbreak. Okay? All right. Let's see. Also, we heard Governor DeSantis today talk about flights from New York and New Jersey and their impact on the state of Florida. You know, New York specifically is the most prominent area in the country in terms of cases of positive COVID-19 cases. And people are just traveling to Florida. So he is now saying that anyone that has traveled from New York within the last 14 days must quarantine themselves for a period of 14 days. So I don't believe we have any residents that fit that criteria. You might have families, etc. But if any family was planning on traveling to Florida from New York, they will be required to quarantine for 14 days. Okay. We continue to have heavy visitor restrictions in place here at Windsor. I have gotten word today that we did have a couple of family members on site. One I know of was permitted. The only exception under the executive order is something called compassionate care. And unfortunately at Windsor, sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where we are dealing with an end-of-life matter. And this isn't just, a resident is on hospice, because sometimes residents can be on hospice for 6 months, a year. I've had people get discharged off hospice. This is when, unfortunately, we have an individual in the community that is moving through the dying process. And we want to provide that compassionate care and that opportunity for family to say goodbye. Obviously, with screening in place to make sure that no one comes into the community showing signs or symptoms of virus. So we do have a compassionate care situation in place. So please be mindful. If you see what you think is a family member on site, find a team member and let them know. Please don't approach that individual because it is a rather touchy situation. Now, on the flip side, a little birdie or 7 have told me that a family member was on site today visiting with a resident social distanced away, but still no visitors on the property without express consent of myself or David, and the only exceptions will be compassionate care. Okay, so please be mindful of that. It is not something we enjoy doing, but we are responsible to make sure that Windsor stays healthy, and just 1, 2, 3 individuals coming into the community or even outside the community and interacting with a resident could be detrimental. So we have to be very mindful of that. Okay, so if you do see something, say something, let somebody know. It's not about, tattling. It's about making sure that you are helping to preserve the health of the community overall. And we appreciate that. And that's how we're seeing it. Okay, so if something worries you, if something concerns you, ask. Don't assume, just ask, and we'll take care of it. So thank you. Okay, just going to read my notes real quickly. Make sure I covered everything. I think I did. The one thing I wanted to end on is, we talked a little bit yesterday, and I had some comments from residents really appreciating the update last night. We went a little bit more in depth about the virus itself and took some time to explain answers to questions like, when is housekeeping going to start again? And while it's a good question, and I can imagine, we're used to having our apartments cleaned every week, and we're spending a lot of time in our apartments, so they're really getting, really getting icky. But again, we're just trying to manage to the best that we can, putting your safety at first. So yes, a messy apartment is not ideal, but a messy apartment and a healthy resident is a better situation, okay, than starting to clean apartments again, having a potentially infected staff person going into apartments. We don't get just one affected resident, we get more, okay? Or maybe the staff member's not affected the resident, and the staff member goes in the apartment, and then they're going into other apartments and passing it. So we talked about that last night, and people said that was a very helpful conversation. And again, I know most of you watch the news, some don't. I hate the news. I didn't do a lot of news watching or reading before this COVID-19 outbreak kind of twisted my arm. But there's obviously a lot of talk, a lot of discussion about it. And some people are saying, oh, you're making such a big deal over nothing. And some people are, the world is on fire, whatever it is. And, we're somewhere in between. And we try to balance. We don't want anybody to feel scared. We want you to know that we're here, we're making the hard decisions, and we're asking you to comply, and you are, which is wonderful. We're making those hard decisions for you to help you be safe, to make sure that after all this is said and done, you can reunite with your families and we can go on and enjoy life at Windsor. But we do try to reiterate that this is a very serious situation, particularly for the residents of Windsor and others who are over age 65, and in many cases have other health issues that are that do put you at greater risk. Okay, so we are very concerned about this virus. We are very concerned about the potential of the virus making its way into Windsor, and that is why we continue to focus so hard and work so diligently to put processes in place to contain the virus. We're not perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but we're going to do as much as we can to reduce the risk to both our residents and our staff. And of course, one affects the other. So again, I don't want you to be scared and I don't want you to panic. I want you to trust that we're making these decisions not in a vacuum, but with a lot of information coming in, and truly with your and our employees and our overall community's best interest at heart. And I know these are hard times, and I know they're stressful, and I know people are starting to get bored. But the best way and the most efficient way to get through this, the faster we do, the more quickly we do this, the more quickly we get to the other side. So again, it is a serious situation, but we hope that we've been carrying the large portion of that burden for you. And we thank you again for your patience as we make the hard decisions to keep our community safe. So I think that is going to wrap up our update for tonight. We will plan on seeing you again tomorrow at 7 o'clock for an update. We are continuing to find fun ways to entertain you and keep you busy and keep your belly full, and I hear we're doing a good job of that. We are working on our grocery program. I should note, I did meet with Mark today, put together what LCS sent to us as kind of the standard list, and we've added to that. Again, trying to accommodate, for employees that have small kids, what are some good dinner items? For residents, obviously most of you are eating for small meals, but you'd love to have bread or milk, etc. And maybe some snacks. We're hearing lots from club residents about wanting some snacks, and I get it. I go to my room at night and I'm like, what can I snack on? Right? So I get it. It's kind of that nervous energy. So we're going to be adding some snacks to that grocery list as well. Some sweets, some savories, some fruits, things like that. So that you have an opportunity to indulge a little bit in that without having to go out into the grocery store or even having to have that Instacart order come in. Because as we move forward, the more that we can restrict those kind of things, I think the better. The less outside influence we have coming in, the better. So stay tuned on that. I'm hoping that we'll be able to roll that out maybe by Thursday, Friday, the end of this week. And look forward to seeing what else we can do to accommodate you. We are also looking at adding paper goods to that, specifically toilet paper. I hear there might be a shortage. Kleenex and paper towels. So those things would be covered as well. You won't be able to buy 968 rolls from us, but certainly a couple rolls at a time would be available. All right. Well, thank you again for tuning in and listening. We will also be televising the update again at 9 o'clock tomorrow. And don't forget, it will be followed by exercise class, so that we can justify eating all those snacks. So that's it for tonight. Everybody have a wonderful evening and sleep well.